r/AskReddit by Reddition. Like and subscribe. What is your favorite holy shit fact? Killer whales are natural predators of moose. In Alaska, the moose swim across from one island to the next and the whales attack them. Edit. As pointed out, they're not whales, you pedantic shits. I guess I should change my name to Killer Whale. The majority of Canada's population lives south of Seattle. The state of California has a bigger population, 38.43 million, than the entire country of Canada, 35.16 million. The majority of California's population also lives south of Seattle. A baby prince from Khwarizm, Persia, was sold as a slave after the Mongols invaded their land and killed all his family. He arrived in Egypt and rose among the ranks until he became the king of Egypt. Then he led the army and served the Mongols, their biggest defeat in their history. Until then, the largest known star has a diameter greater than the orbit of Uranus around the sun. A billion hours ago, human life appeared on Earth. A billion minutes ago, Christianity emerged. A billion seconds ago, the Beatles changed music. A billion Coca-Colas ago was yesterday morning. Robert Goizueta, chief executive of the Coca-Cola Company, April 1997. There's only one country between Finland and North Korea. France was still executing people by guillotine when Star Wars: A New Hope hit theaters. The immortal jellyfish. It is the only known case of an animal capable of reverting completely to a sexually immature colonial stage after having reached sexual maturity as a solitary individual. It basically has access to the fountain of youth. There are a number of people who were in Hiroshima and survived the nuclear blast, and went to Nagasaki and survived the second nuclear blast a few days later. Alternatively, there's a number of people who survived the Hiroshima blast only to be killed by the Nagasaki blast. The ampersand is a combination of the letters E and T, so it spells et, which is just Latin for an. And it was the 27th and final letter of the alphabet, so when school children were memorizing the alphabet, they would finish with X, Y, Z, and Peresi, and so the phrase and Peresi and got distorted into ampersand. Christopher Lee, the actor who played Saruman in LOTR and Count Dooku in the Star Wars prequels, was related to Confederate General Robert E. Lee, was the step-cousin of James Bond writer Ian Fleming, was a flight lieutenant for the British Royal Air Force during WW2, and killed multiple Nazis, climbed Mount Vesuvius 3 days before it erupted, tripped over a live bomb and survived, and released a symphonic death metal album. At the age of 88. His life was one giant holy shit. You are the most recent result, part of a chain of reproduction that has never been broken since the beginning of life. If you're male and have no siblings, sisters, you represent the termination of a billion-year chain of women birthing each other. In 65 years we went from the Wright brothers' first glider to putting a man on the moon. Pineapples take 1.5 to 3 years to grow. They also only produce one pineapple per plant. New York City is farther south than Rome. In time, we are closer to the end of the dinosaurs than the end of the dinosaurs is to the beginning of the dinosaurs. Oxford University is older than the civilization of the Aztecs. Similarly, Harvard didn't teach calculus when it opened. 'Cause it hasn't been developed yet. The second largest air force in the world is the United States Navy. Sharks have been around for longer than trees. Woolly mammoths existed at the same that the pyramids were being built. I heard they actually built the pyramids. There are more jugulas than there are polar bears. This makes me very sad. If you shuffle a deck of cards, the resulting formation has probably never existed before and never will again. The day before the oldest person in the world was born, there was a whole different set of people on the entire planet. A little late to this, but Laos is the most bombed country in the world. During the Vietnam War, pilots were instructed to drop their leftover or undeliverable bomb cargo on their return, which just so happened to be Laos. Laos was not in the war. The US denied this activity for years and only recently has admitted all the bombings were planned to cut Viet Cong supply trails. Thousands of people since then are still being killed/maimed by the UXOs in the mainly rural country. The only way to identify where the cluster bombs are is for a special team to painstakingly walk every square inch of the country with detectors. Too long didn't read. Laos has been bombed more than Germany and Japan combined for a war they were never in. Saturn's density is so low that it could float on Earth's ocean. At this point, is Saturn floating on the ocean of the Earth, or is Earth rolling around on Saturn? It is estimated that malaria has killed nearly half the people who have ever lived on this Earth. Still blows my mind every time. I'm always too late to these things to get any traction, but I feel like this one should be at the top every time. When the United States tested the atom bomb for the first time, the scientists could not prove that detonating the bomb would not set the entire atmosphere on fire. But they went through with the test anyway. Cleopatra lived closer in time to the moon landing and to the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's insane how quickly technology has moved since the Industrial Revolution. Technological evolution is a perfect example of a snowball effect. 2005, flash drives were $100 for 4GB. 2015, flash drives are $8 for 8GB. If you make $30,000 USD a year, you are in the top 1% in the world. Edit. It's actually an income of $34,000 a year. Just straight income. KFC is owned by Pepsi. Head explodes. And Taco Bell and Pizza Hut. If you were to take a picture of the universe, where our solar system showed up as a single pixel, it would be 14.66 x 1016 pixels wide. If you just wanted to display the width of that photo, not the whole photo, just a 1080 pixel thick strip on a series of bezel-less 32 feet 1080p TVs, you'd need over 76 trillion of them, stretching 31,000,000,000,000 miles, about a third of the distance from the Earth to the Sun. Everyone knows the universe is pretty big, but very few people actually know how monstrously huge it actually is. 80% of Soviet men born in 1923 didn't see the end of World War II. Tim Allen, aka Buzz Lightyear / Home Improvements, was a drug runner who got caught, and for a reduction in his sentence, got another 30 odd people arrested. Lol. It fluffed me up when I found out California has more population than all of Canada. For comparison, Canada has 35 million, while California has 38 million. I also read earlier that India has over 1 billion people. That's like 27 Canada, and I can't comprehend any of this. During a citywide blackout, there were several distress calls to 911 about strange lights in the sky. They were stars. Edit. According to a quick Google search, it was 94 LA, apparently. Women can't touch their elbows together. I'm at work. Colleague next to me, female, didn't believe you and tried it. She realized after a few seconds, but still. If you lined up everything on Earth by size with a subatomic particle being at one end and the entire planet on the other end, you know what falls in the middle? A dust mite. Edit. I'm totally okay with this being my most upvoted comment by miles. One of Britain's smallest towns, Berwick-upon-Tweed, was officially at war with Russia for over a century. This town lies on the border between England and Scotland, and over many centuries, changed hands between the two. So it was often known as England, Scotland and the town of Berwick-upon-Tweed. When the declaration of the Crimean War against Russia was signed by Queen Victoria in 1853, she signed it with Victoria, Queen of Great Britain, Ireland, Berwick-upon-Tweed and all British dominions. When the Treaty of Paris was signed to conclude the war, Berwick-upon-Tweed was left out. This lay undiscovered until 1966, when war was formally ended between Berwick and Russia. The mayor of Berwick said in the declaration of peace, "Please tell the Russian people through your newspaper that they can sleep peacefully in their beds." If you fold a single piece of paper 45 times, it would be tall enough to reach the moon. A second is called second because it is the second division of the hour by 60. The phrase be there or be square comes from the fact that if you aren't there, you won't be around. I thought it was just because square was slang for uncool. Like if someone was a lame nerd, they were a square. So if you were inviting someone to something, you would say, be there or be square. Like if you don't come to the drive-in, or the diner or the sock hop, you're a loser. T-Rex was more related to a chicken than a triceratops. T-Rex lived closer to us in time than to a Stegosaurus. Rex likely never saw grass. Stegosaurus likely never saw flowers. Feathers evolved before flight in birds. Dinosaurs came to be the dominant land animal group because of a mass extinction. You never actually touch anything. Repulsive forces of the atoms create this illusion, unless you define touching something as feeling the repulsive force of its atoms. Months that begin on a Sunday will always have a Friday the 13th. Months that begin on a Sunday will always have a Monday the 2nd. Sand is called sand because it's between sea and land. King George V, Nicholas, and Kaiser Wilhelm, the three major world leaders of WW1, were all cousins. They were all grandchildren of Queen Victoria and often spent their summers together growing up. The word slang is derived from, wait for it, short language. The crop scientist Norman Borlaug is often credited with saving more lives than any other person in history. He developed types of wheat that would produce high yields for farmers in famine-stricken developing nations. His work expanded the global food supply enough to feed an additional billion people. Prior to that, the title of most effective humanitarian was often applied to Herbert Hoover, of all people. After WWI, he was in charge of an aid program that fed about 15 million people per day in devastated parts of Europe. Dude should have quit while he was ahead. Now he's only remembered as a shitty president. Anyway, the reason this is my go-to tidbit is that both were born in my home state of Iowa. Nobody born after 1935 has walked on the moon. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for daily Reddit videos.